According to the English, we are in league with the devil and have acquired the Flying Dutchman. The captain of the Merva said recently, "You can imagine what a great moment it was when I had 8 English captains standing in front of me, and I could tell them all, this is the work of the German fleet."
Germany's U-boats joined in the war against Allied trade. One British admiral was horrified.
Submarines are underhand, unfair, and damned un-English. As for U-boats attacking civilian ships, it is impossible and unthinkable. If they do, their captured crews should be hanged as pirates.
The U-boat blockade of Britain would have to be ruthless. But Germany's Chancellor, Bethmann Hollweg, realized the effect this would have on world opinion, as he told Georg von Müller.
Spent the afternoon with the Chancellor, who wished once more to discuss the U-boat question. Bethmann envisaged the remaining neutrals united against us as the mad dog among the peoples of the world. That would mean the end of Germany.
Germany's admirals were furious at having their hands tied. But submarines were ordered to stick to the old rules of war. They gave warnings of their attacks. They did not attack underwater. They gave merchant crews time to escape. German submarines sunk 250,000 tons in 1914. But Britain built new ships faster than the U-boats could sink them. Far from being choked by the German blockade, the British economy flourished. The British firm Vickers, with a workforce of 78,000, turned out guns, aeroplanes, battleships, and record profits. If Germany was trying to play fair, Britain wasn't. Q-ships looked like unarmed traders, but carried hidden guns. They looked like easy prey, but when submarines came close, the Q-ships uncovered their guns and attacked. To add to the deception, they often sailed under foreign flags. Lieutenant Heinrich Crompton, on the U-41, was caught by just such a trick.
As the two ships came within 300 meters of each other, the steamer opened a heavy, accurate rifle fire from all along the railing, immediately joined by large caliber guns hidden fore and aft. The U-41 immediately returned 3 rounds from the forward gun, all hits to the hull. Throughout the action, the steamer continued to fly the American flag.
On the 1st of February 1915, in response to the British blockade, the Kaiser stepped up his campaign. He declared that all the waters around Britain were a war zone, in which any ships, including neutrals, might be sunk. This decision set Germany on a collision course with America. The pride of the Cunard Line, the Lusitania, was the largest, most luxurious liner in the world. She could carry over 2,000 passengers. There was a ragtime dance written in her honor. On the 1st of May 1915, Cunard posted a list of her departures in the New York Times. Next to it was an advertisement placed by the German ambassador. Those sailing to Britain, it said, did so at their own risk. At 11:30 that morning, the Lusitania left New York for Liverpool. Her captain made light of the submarine threat.
It's the best joke I've heard in many days. This talk of torpedoing the Lusitania.
This is the last picture of her ever taken. The Lusitania sighted the Irish coast on the 7th of May. The lighthouse in the old Head of Kinsale was traditionally used by ships on the Atlantic run to get their bearings. At 2:10, the Lusitania was hit by a single torpedo.
As I watched, one funnel went, then the other, until the ship had gone and the sea was calm. And all you could see was bodies and wreckage of furniture, and everything that had been in the ship, floating in the water.
My husband and I got into a lifeboat, the ropes of which jammed and had to be cut. Since when, I have not seen or heard of my husband.
I've lost all I ever possessed, and my dead boys, ages 11 years and 8.
I was rescued by a trawler. My dear husband was lost, but I had the great satisfaction of finding him on Saturday and seeing him laid to rest in the cemetery in Queenstown.
Police reports were sent to relatives to identify the bodies. 1,200 people died on the Lusitania, including 128 Americans. At the battlefronts in Europe, tens of thousands were dying every day, but the fate of the great Cunard liner overshadowed them. It led to the most widespread anti-German riots of the war. In Liverpool, a newly arrived American joined the mob outside a German-owned shop.
The crowd was muttering and growling and the shop was dark, but there were people upstairs, so I just picked up a brick and heaved it through the window. Then everyone took to shying them, and in a few minutes the place was a wreck. There were several policemen at the corner, and they just grinned.
With the sinking of the Lusitania, Germany had crossed a line.
The whole world hates us because we are conducting the war in such a brutal manner, and the brutality is increasing. I was at a party when the report of the torpedoing of the Lusitania arrived. I saw 2 officers' wives who, mad with joy, started to dance about the room. Don't forget, I said, that there were also women and children aboard. That doesn't matter, they said, and danced on. The more who go to the bottom, the better.
The Lusitania came to stand for German barbarity. Britain stirred the indignation with its own propaganda. Posters and even posed photographs rammed home what had happened. The German embassy in Washington received bomb threats. President Woodrow Wilson himself began to see Germany as the mad dog of the world.
In God's name, how could any nation calling itself civilized do so horrible a thing?
It seemed America might clamber down off the fence. But outrage soon gave way to caution. Wilson reassured the nation that America would not go to war.
There is such a thing as a man being too proud to fight. There is such a thing as a nation being so right that it does not need to convince others by force that it is right.
And anyway, war would be very bad for business. Wilson kept the United States prepared but neutral for 2 more years. The sinking of the Lusitania was terrible, but that didn't seem reason enough to throw away more lives and profits by joining in a distant war. Germany's policy in America after sinking the Lusitania was complex. She kept her U-boats in check, but not her spies. In 1916, German agents blew up Black Tom Island, a loading depot in New York Harbor. It held 900 tons of ammunition destined for the Allies.
Several thousand persons lined the seawall and acquired a real picture of what the firing line in the European war looks like. The water line was one mass of red glare.
The explosions were so strong, they were felt in Philadelphia, 90 miles away. German agents slipped bombs onto ships in American ports. There were several assassination attempts, and even a bomb planted in the US Capitol.
German agents are everywhere. Extraordinary measures of precaution have now become necessary in all the arms factories, at the docks and on board vessels, even vessels of the United States Navy.
Hard evidence tying Germany to espionage operations against America came from one of the spies himself. Heinrich Albert left his briefcase on New York's elevated railway. It held documents proving the German embassy was bankrolling the sabotage. Two senior diplomats, including Franz von Papen, Hitler's future vice-chancellor, were expelled. But nothing got in the way of business on the New York Stock Exchange. When Germany won a battle, Allied stocks fell. When Britain won, her shares rose. American investors were betting on the war. For British Cabinet Minister David Lloyd George, there was a direct connection between battle and bank.
Success means credit. Financiers never hesitate to lend to a prosperous concern.
France and Russia paid for the war by borrowing from Britain. Britain, in turn, raised money on the American stock market through her Wall Street bankers, J.P. Morgan. It was spent buying American armaments, American supplies. Of all the money raised in America to pay for the war, 99% went to Britain and the Allies. It was something that made many Germans wonder just how neutral America really was.
30th of January 1916. In financial circles, it is openly said that England has won the war already, and every day that it goes on after March can only make the ruin of Germany completer, no matter what her military successes may be.
America lent so much that by the end of 1916, the central bank warned that people were betting too heavily on Britain. If the Allies lost, they might never get their money back. The mere thought that American cash might be backing the wrong side wiped $1 billion off Allied stocks in a week. Germany's generals felt the odds were stacking up against them. They grew impatient at hesitant politicians tying their hands.
In view of the military situation, we must lose no time in adopting the measure of torpedoing armed enemy merchantmen without notice. The Entente are continuing the war with all the resources at their disposal.
Our ambassador prophesies war with America if we persist in our intention of torpedoing armed merchantmen without warning. The Kaiser wrote in the margin of the